Alrighty, so some people commented about this new Winchester powder, and luckily one of my local powder shops had some in stock. So obviously today is going to be the first video with the new Winchester Staball Match. So supposedly this is a temp stable ball powder that the burn rate is more similar to Varget, whereas that Staball 6.5 is a lot slower. So really Staball 6.5 probably won't work in 6mm arc, but it looks like it should be perfectly suited, or Staball Match should be perfectly suited for 6mm arc. Now there's not a lot of load data out there. I think this powder just came out or was announced at SHOT Show. So the only thing I had for a reference was Hodgkin's load data online. Now they don't list any bolt data for 6mm arc, so their max charges are at like 52,000 PSI. They also don't have many bullet options. Today we're shooting the 105 grain Bowtail hollow point. Winchester number 41 small rifle primers, 4 times fired Hornady brass, and we're just going to pick 2 random loads and shoot it just to get an idea of where we're at with our burn rate, our charge weight, and all that stuff. So we chose 27.3 grains and 27.8 grains. So this is a less than what they list as max charges for the 110 Hornady bullet. So, and it's that 51,000 PSI data. So I'm hoping we should be okay with pressure, but again, we'll find out. Now again, this is just the first test. I ended up getting 2 pounds of this Staball Match, so hopefully we'll get to do a lot of testing with it. Hopefully it turns out to be a good powder. Now as far as for bulk goes, this is that 27.8 grain load here, and you can just hear a little bit of powder moving. So these are not compressed loads, so potentially should be almost the perfect load ratio for 6mm arc. So let's get out on the range and let's just get our first experience with Staball Match. Alrighty, we are out here on the range. This is my 22-inch Savage 110 Switchback chambered in 6mm arc, and this is our first test with the new Staball Match powder. It's kind of a bad day to be shooting. The wind's blowing about 10 to 20 mile an hour, kind of into and off the left, but should give us a decent idea where we're going to be with velocity and just get an idea how this powder is going to work. We are at 100 yards. The orange dots are 1/2 inch. Getting velocity through our lab radar. The gun is cold. And we're shooting off our bipod and rear bag. We're shooting that first charge first. That lowest charge. Hopefully we picked a good starting point because there's not much data. Obviously we kind of have to kind of guess. But we'll see. I'm guessing this is going to be maybe 2670, 2700 feet per second, but the only way to know for sure is to test. So first shot here is a 6-24 Arcan SH4 Gen 2 optic, and we'll go ahead and see how they do. I try not to shoot any of the heavy gusts, but again, it's a windy day, so do the best we can. Alright, so a little lower than what we predicted. That first one was 2610. The good thing is we didn't start too high, which we were a little worried about. That was 2596. 2563. So we're way off on where we want to be for charge weight. $25.67. $25.73. Yeah, so we also had, so average 25.82, SD of 20.3. So, not a good start here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to shoot these 5 that we talked about on the bench. I'm going to go pull these and put some more powder in them. Alright, so I went ahead and pulled those bullets, and we bumped up our charge weight to 28.5. So we were obviously very low at 2,500 feet per second. So hopefully we don't get into any trouble by bumping up by so much. But I'd like to see this powder at least like 2750 with this combination, so we'll see what happens here. Don't know that we'll quite be 2750, but by bumping up a little bit more than a grain, I would guess that we should see a pretty big change. Again, we still got this wind, but nothing I can do about that. It's gonna have to deal with it. Again, I'm more curious about kind of what the powder's gonna do as far as velocity and consistency and that kind of stuff anyway. So, all right, gun's cooled down. It's been sitting down here and the wind's been blowing on it, so gun's cooled down, and we'll go ahead and see where we're at for velocity here. Yeah, 2760. A whole lot closer to where we want to be. Still not probably as fast as what I'd like to see it, but hey, we're closer. See if they'll group. All right, now it's 2704. So far, not showing a lot of consistency, that's for sure. Maybe that one was just a cold bore. I mean, it was a cold bore, but maybe that's why I saw that weird velocity change. Let's see if the rest of these are about 2700. Nope. Velocity was pretty consistent. All right, so yeah, other than our cold bore shot, velocity looked pretty consistent. Yeah, so we ended up with a 16.5 SD, but if I look at our shots, shot one was 2670, which was that cold bore shot. Then we had 2704, 2713, 2701, and 2707. So what is that? Like a 12 extreme spread over 4 shots after that cold bore. So, you know, maybe it's going to show some promise. Groups look pretty bad, but you know, it is super duper windy today. Maybe that's impacting things. So let's get over there and take a look at the target. All right, so taking a look at our brass here, those 5 on the top you see are our lowest charge, and those 5 on the bottom are our top charge. So as you can see, there's really no pressure signs to speak of. Our primers look nice and round on both charges, no significant cratering, and no significant ejector smears. So I think we're in a good place to start with Staball Match. All right, taking a look at our groups. They're not super duper impressive. Again, it was a very windy day, and these are just random loads. Now, obviously, that first charge, we had a low velocity at 2582 feet per second, 20.2 SD, and group was just under an inch at 0.095. And then when we went ahead and loaded up a little bit of a higher charge there, the group tightened up just a bit at 0.083 inches, just under 2700 feet per second at 2699, and a 16.5 SD. Kind of like we talked about on the range though, that first shot was what dropped our velocity, and then we pretty much averaged about 2705. So likely that cold bore shot kind of skewed our velocity down just a little bit. So I'm excited to start really testing this powder. Just wanted to get out and give it a go and see what kind of burn rate it was going to have. You know, trying to look at load data on the internet, it's pretty tough to tell. It looks like it's clearly a little bit slower than Varget, but you know, it looks to be a faster powder than maybe like a CFE 223 or Lever Evolution. The closest thing I can come up with is maybe this is similar to Winchester 748, but with the stay ball properties, because I think that's also a ball powder as well. So time will tell. We're going to do a whole bunch more testing, probably in both 6 Arc, 6.5 Creedmoor, and 6 GT to kind of figure out, you know, how I'm going to like this powder, if I am or not. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was actually a viewer that commented about this powder, and I obviously went and got some. So thanks to him for commenting, giving me the idea to go find some of this powder, and hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week.